Good day, everybody. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, for this ecosystem experience session about Fast Pass and CAS. I'm Sylvain Landrevie, a product marketing manager at OVH Cloud, working on web and domains, and I'm very happy to be with Guillaume today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Guillaume Gaujard, and I am the product manager for the web project at OVH Cloud.
Thank you, Guillaume. So today, talking about PaaS, FAS, CAS, YAS, SaaS, all those AAS acronyms. So first, we'll sort of define them, and then we'll help our users decide which solution to choose for their own businesses. Guillaume, can you tell us about as-a-service models, please?
Yes, sure. So, as a service is, first of all, a business model, whereby cloud service provider like us offer services online that you could subscribe, use, and scale without worrying about everything. No need to set up or monitor stuff. We manage the security and we maintain them. And for instance, software as a service is the well-known one, and everyone is using today email online, for example.
Okay, thank you. Can you go into details of those different as-a-service solutions?
Yeah, sure. So we'll see a great presentation where we will be presenting all the key as a service. First, on the left, infrastructure as a service. And you could see 3 different colors. The blue, the dark blue is the one the cloud provider is managing. The light blue is the one you are buying. And the green are the ones that you as a customer has to manage, and you can configure them. So infrastructure on the left is the oldest one, maybe. Created, the first were existing in early 2000, and they have evolved a lot since then. Infrastructure embrace everything: network, computing, storage for your data, and also the security and the monitoring of it. And you can consume them in a dedicated way or a virtualized way. Then we have on the second column, container as a service. Container as a service is more virtualized. And what is a container? This is an OS level virtualization to deliver software in a package. Docker is the best example. And container as a service is a way for a user to upload, manage their containers on a cluster of nodes, like Kubernetes, also a very well-known solution today. And Kubernetes, for example, orchestrate all of this. I mean, it start, stop, and scale your containers.
And Guillaume, if I may catch you right in the middle of this slide, these first 2 buckets, infrastructure and containers, who are the main users for these kind of solution models?
Yes, you're right. This is a good question. Infrastructure and containers are mostly used by operation people, the one in charge of maintaining the infrastructure up and running at the best performance. Where when we are going to address the other 2 columns, we'll more focus on developers. So let's talk, for example, about platform as a service, the third one. It allows developers to focus on creating software, provisioning, instantiate, and run their environment, for example, their staging environment or their production environment. And finally, the one on the right, FAS, function as a service, is the smallest unit you could consume on the cloud today. Typically, it could be a simple features corresponding to one task, like returning the currency rate between euro and dollar, for instance. This one, by the way, is built per event and per consume of the resources you make.
Okay, thank you for this very last and obvious example. I think it's a lot clearer now what all those acronyms stands for. Can you, let's say, keep 5 criteria to help our users decide which one to choose?
Sure.
I would say for first, what would be probably the size of the team, or maybe even the size of the project, which is another size criteria, I guess.
Yeah, the size is key for sure. The size of the team, if you are just one developer or if you are a team of developer, it's completely different. You may need just one environment, and in that case, for example, a PaaS could do the job easily for you. If you are a bit more, then maybe having several instances, as I mentioned, staging, development, or environments for preview the result could be great. And in that case, having several platform as a service could be great. If you are a bit bigger, then having an ops team, a dev team, and so on could be great to go for infrastructure and container as a service. Because in that case, you can leverage more and get ready to have a very more important project running on top of this. And FaaS is the tiny piece requiring maybe a very small team. And if we are talking about FaaS, we can also talk about the size of the project. Because, for example, if you have just a very small project to deliver, FaaS is the best option to follow. You just want to develop that currency rate example I took earlier. If you know that you are going to deliver a very big project, a full web application with integration and stuff like that, maybe you'll go on the other way. The container as a service could be the best place to have everything as you wish deployed on as many resources required.
Okay, thank you. What would you say about the available time and deadlines and these different models? How do you place them?
Yes, sure. Again, the timeline you have, the deadline you may have is good to figure out because for sure, preparing infrastructure or preparing a container as a service may require more time for your team, for your people to get it up and running. Whereas a platform as a service or even a FaaS, a function as a service, could be up and ready in just a few minutes or even seconds. And that makes a big difference. Again, the full time you want to spend on the project, is it just bootstrapping a new idea for a startup, or is it a real business project? Is a complete different perspective when you choose the solution.
Okay, thank you. What would you say about the flexibility our users require, and how can that help them select the solution?
Yes, maybe we'll start with the customization first, and I'll talk about flexibility just after. Customization, okay, it's a usual question. Should I go for something I could configure entirely myself, or should it be better for me to have just some parameter that I can customize? Customizing is easier because you can just switch on, off, or select the right amount within a range predefined for you, where configuration needs you to master everything. So infrastructure as a service, container as a service are better for advanced configuration, but require more time, as we said. And platform as a service and function as a service come most of the time with very easy customizable features, easier to start with.
Thank you. And then we can move on to the flexibility, probably.
Yeah, the flexibility. So the flexibility could be maybe the best. The other keyword to talk about this could be the scalability. If you would like to have flexible environment with flexible services behind, the idea is maybe to go for solutions that are going to be scalable, that could adapt regarding your usage or your need. And in that case, container as a service, you can define boundaries, how many servers you want to deploy at the maximum, and the maximum size they may have, so that if there is a huge number of visitors on your website or your application, you don't have to wake up at night. It just scales, and as soon as it's finished, it goes down, which is the best way to make sure you'll be able to have the better answer for everyone. But on the other hand, it may cost a bit more because you will be charged regarding what you consume. On the other hand, the platform as a service, for example, may be on a subscription model, meaning that you pay in advance for what you are going to use, And it could be a 1 month, 1 year, 2 years commitment at a fixed price, making it more predictable in that case.
Oh, thank you. And you're already talking about money. We've seen project and team size, available time, customization, flexibility. I guess the last, but very not the least, might be the money, the budget, and of course the SLAs around them. Can you tell me more?
Yes, right. For example, money could have been the first main criteria, because if you have a lot of money, maybe you could build your own data centers, to make the joke. But it's key for sure. Why? Because like I said, you may not want to spend a huge amount from the beginning. You may not want to wake up at night. And that's why we mix it with SLA. Regarding what you'd like to have as a service, what expectation you may have from your provider, you then may be ready to pay a bit more. And this is like a key criteria, because when you want to bootstrap, you just want to start with no commitment, and you are going to try maybe a free version of something, and that's it. And by the way, this is really important to have the idea of the total cost of what you are going to consume, because do not always have a look at the entry price. It's better to consider, regarding your project, the full length of your project, and evaluate, maybe have an ROI approach, making sure that you have a great idea of how much it's going to cost you at the end.
Okay. Thank you very much, Guillaume. I think this is a lot clearer, at least for me. I hope that's the same for our users, for the explanations and the selection process. Well, would you give an advice to our viewers today about how to use them on top of that?
Sure. When we have presented all and shared all those criteria, the best idea maybe is to give you that advice to try each of them, make up your mind, and you'll be able to have a good approach, which could be today to mix them. Don't be afraid to mix them, because they have each of them very nice benefits, and maybe it could be great to have, for example, a very tiny integration running on a function as a service, because it's very specific, having your front-end development running on a platform as a service, and choose the container as a service for your backend, because it may require a lot of data processing, for example.
Okay, thank you. Makes a lot of sense. I hope our users will be able to leverage all this information. I would like to thank you first, Guillaume, and thank you everyone for being here and watching us today. Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone, and I hope this session has helped you. Bye-bye.